All right, everybody, welcome back to coverage here of the MagicOnline Champion Showcase here in 2025, season number 2. My name is Corey Baumeister, and I am joined by none other than member of Team Handshake, Eli Kassis. Eli, you ready for the finals here?
Very ready. Can't wait to see these two awesome decks battling it out. I'm excited to see which one comes out on top. I don't even know.
Yeah, these decks, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they were your 2 highest grades, right?
Absolutely. It was easy to see. I'm not going to take credit for the outcome being similar to what I thought. The decks just look powerful on paper.
Yeah, okay, well, let's check these deck lists out and see who's going to be taking this down in the finals here. So we have Zompa on the left here versus Thomas White here, McWinSauce on the right in the finals here. So not only are these players playing for $4,000 of cash money, they're also playing for that invite to the World Championship, which last place is $4,000 alone in that tournament. Plus, if you have, if you know what you're doing at these tournaments, I would say, Eli, your equity at the World Championship is a little bit higher than 4,000. So these players are essentially playing a match for around $10,000 here, which is really impressive here. So Zomp on the left, Thomas White on the right. Both players have some solid stats. Zampa, with only playing Magic here for 3 years, getting to this stage of his career is kind of mind-blowing, wouldn't you think, Eli?
Oh yeah, very telling that there's some immediate talent there to figure this out that fast. My first 3 years, man, I wasn't good enough to win a local 8-man.
No kidding. My first 3 years that I started playing, well, I was I could almost count my age on 2 hands here. I was 11. I was not top 8ing anything. By the time I was 14, absolutely not. And on the other side, been playing for 14 years for McWinSauce. Been around the blocks for a long time, has played in multiple pro tours, qualified via the leaderboard, and actually, queued with maybe the most points we have ever seen. So Thomas White just dominated this MagicOnline season, top 8ing so many premier events. So this is kind of the David versus Goliath story here. So let's take a look at the decks here, starting off with Zampa. And I gotta say, this is a deck, we've seen it here before. This is my pick to take it down. This deck is just too streamlined. It looks too beautiful. Eli, what do you love about it?
Just the power and the smoothness, the low curve, all these great, excellent high tier picks. Just has it all. And I also expect this deck to kind of win. I just think the opposing deck is lined up a little bit well to combat exactly this strategy. So I think this is gonna be a really great match. Unless it's not, you never know. Mana sometimes doesn't come together and you see a one-sided kind of game.
Oh man, Eli, this is what we got you in here for. This is either going to be the greatest match or it won't be. Stay tuned. Let's take a look at Tom White's list, as we have not really seen this get played so far, but Tom has had a relatively easy avenue to the finals here. One card I want to point out, Eli, that at least stands out to me is Flage. I think that we are really going to see Tom White's chances skyrocket if he does draw Flage. Now, maybe Recall is probably going to push the needle a little bit further, but Flage is the card that looks the most important to me in this matchup.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think recall is the thing that gives resources to be able to maneuver and consistency that way. But Tom has some reiteration, if you will, an expressive iteration to make sure that happens too, and consult the charts. So Tom is not trying to play a standard draft deck where you play a light threat and then you interact and you do something. Instead, it's complete control, card advantage, and then trying to just slam the victory through Flage or Othari. So very few win cons here will be important to note, but they're really hard to deal with win cons, especially for a blue-red deck. You have to make sure you answer Othari before it starts making creatures, and you have to exile Flage somehow, which the blue-red deck doesn't have. So I do agree with you. I think Flage is the most important piece to be able to take this game. And I just think it's funny that one person has time warp and the other one has time walk. It's like,
we don't need time Walk, Eli. We have Time Walk at home, okay?
Exactly.
Either way, I look at both of these decks, and the only thing I can think of is exactly the one word between that Counterspell and Expressive Iteration. Damn, both of these decks are awesome. So let's head on down into the feature match area and see who is going to get this Vintage Cube trophy. Looks like we have McWinSauce on the play here up top with an okay hand, and then a really nice streamline one for Zompa at the bottom.
I think they both have really decent hands, though. I certainly wouldn't be sad about either one of them. Like, having your Jeskai mana base and then having a curve that starts on 2 is fine because you're on the play. And obviously, Zompa's hand is just like the normal. Oh my gosh.
Oh, what is it? You said it's normal?
Well, can I take that back?
Honestly, though, Eli, like, that's a great draw, but looking at how this is kind of going to play out, was that actually the worst possible draw for Zompa, with now that we're going to play one of these 3-drops right into a counter spell, where if we didn't have a MOCS, that was not going to be the case?
I don't imagine it to be the worst possible because you still have to play through this counter when you're a blue-red kind of aggro deck. It's not like you have the luxury of sitting back. And I think that's a mistake a lot of players make against the control deck, is trying to play a little bit slower and then they get punished.
Yeah.
So, like, there are give and takes to all of this too. Like, that Dak Faden was a great draw. You could steal Mox Ruby, but then Dak Faden's just going to get taken out by the Channeler. So is that even good? Like, your opponent isn't really playing a ramp deck, so like, is taking out a Mox even that important? So I think I agree with the Fable being the better play there. There's just a lot of interesting things I think in play here that are not easily contextually derived. But having Tersa is just a fantastic follow-up to this. It helps Dragon Rage Channeler. I'm just so impressed with Zompa at the discards. There's nothing is sacred in Zompa's hand. Like, discarding Fiery Confluence? Wait, what are you doing? I want that card.
I was thinking the same, but then again, I just think, like, you know, if Zompa were to, like, discard Time Walk there, then we're like, okay, Zompa's just throwing his cards to the wind. But, you know, every card that he discards, that's not a Time Walk, gets you closer to Time Walk. So, I mean, I guess I'm kind of here for it.
Turning on the Dragon's Rage Channeler to add 2 more damage this turn and 2 more damage next turn is probably worth getting rid of this Steel 6. It's just a very smart play that I think a lot of people would be sleeping on. So it's kind of cool to see Zompa just doing it and not even taking time to think about it. It's like, man, some things are sacred. You have to, like, process them before you throw it to the wind. But nope, we're doing it.
We're just doing it. I am here for it. So big draw step here. We drew a Flage here from McWinSauce. We're still looking for second white to be able to dam this board away, which would be excellent here. But even Flage alone looks great. And oh, hello, there's a Phoenix.
Yeah, I mean, getting to Flage and hold up counterspell here also seems really good. So,
I like that a lot more, huh? Like, sure, you're a ways away from escaping Flage, but, like, not by a lot. Like, sure, you need a white mana and 2 extra cards in hand, but, you know, if Tom White were to be able to counter a spell and then draw a fetch land, boom, game's over.
Mm-hmm. It does seem nice to have the counter up, but I do think that the Flage has a difficult time picking what to target here. So, like, Tersa is nearing the point where its secondary ability comes into play, where most people don't really see that ability happen. And then the Dragon Rage Channeler is going to help funnel the draws and fly over, and it's also a problem threat. But I think the fact that Flage gains life means that we picked the right one. That was a ghost draw.
That was quite the draw. If there wasn't a counter spell on the other side, oh my goodness, we would have basically been all done here. But wow, this counter spell is really going to save the day.
Yeah, McWinSauce really had these things line up nicely. You almost can't script it this nicely sometimes, because, like, you take the Flage out of that hand, let's say it's a land that doesn't add white, then maybe the Othari is the better play last turn. And then are we just dead?
Yeah, totally. And there is the planes to be able to have a instant speed Wrath.
It's a lot of fun. I love Teferi Time Raveler. It's just so busted when you get to do these sorceries at the best times and not even worry about them reacting to it or interacting. Although it
Yeah.
would be funny a scenario where there's two cards in your opponent's hand and they respond by, let's say, Ottawaring Time Raveler and then spell piercing your dam somehow. Like that would be a crazy sequence if that was
Okay.
available.
I actually had a control deck that I played, and I got to go upkeep Ultima. So it just not only wrapped their board, but it ended their turn. It was so spicy.
That sounds really spicy.
Yeah. It was really sweet. So here comes a land off the top, and here's an attack, and I think we might just be about to see a dam here. Or do you like wait? You know, do you wait
Yep.
at all until end step here if you're McWinSauce?
I think most people are not waiting here because knowing that you have Othari and Flage as backup, there's just not a reason to risk going to any kind of a low life total where you can get,
Yeah.
Burst Lightning kickered. Even with Confluence and Burst Lightning in the graveyard, it just seems like unnecessary risk. It's not like our flipped Fable is that good, and we don't need to win by getting the last card in Zompa's hand. So I think that we're just gonna Othari here and run away with the game, and we had to back up in Flage too. Like either one of these was good enough to seal this game away.
And I gotta say, I mean, Zompa's did flood out a little bit at the end. The Skull Clamp is a blank, and we're gonna be all done here for game number one. But outside of that, Zompa's draw was pretty good. And
Yeah.
Thomas White's just answers really lined up this game, and maybe that's indicative of what we're gonna expect in this match, huh?
It is kind of what I expected, and sort of what I was saying. I think Thomas White's deck lines up nicely into the blue-red deck, and I think the concern is going to have to be, are we going to stumble at all? Because we know we're on the draw for game two if you're Tom, and the opponent's deck is very fast, and we need to have our three colors, we need to have our answers line up. Like, we almost lost this game by not having Counterspell and Flage that one turn. So
Yeah.
a little tiny misstep can just seal the deal.
Well, in the meantime, the lightning bolt off the top plus the Flage just ends the game right now. It didn't matter. That game is going to be over next turn no matter what. Anyways, an impressive W there for Thomas White, and he is now one game away from the 2026 World Championship.
That's very impressive. I think I would have liked boarding in this the white enchantment creature here to make 2/2/1 flyers. The other white
The
enchantment
Overlord?
creature before to do it. Yeah, I think the Overlord trades nicely with a lot of the creatures in Zompo's deck. And so I think Zompo is going to be looking for cards that are better against control, and Tom is going to be looking for cards that like make sure he doesn't die to going wide, fast strategies. And so that's one of the ones I think I'd like to add. I do like putting Time Warp in the sideboard, so I do like some of the sideboard changes that are happening, bringing your CMC curve down lower, all good things. I don't know if I board out Dak Faden. I think that card is just too good. The ability to steal a MOCS or a Skull Clamp, and then also to filter your draws and feed your Flage. Like, even on the draw, I think you just can't cut that card. But
yeah, I actually do like that cut. If I'm being honest, I'm not the experienced cuber like you are, but it felt like even stealing a MOCS for 3 mana when it's just gonna die with Zompa's deck being so aggressive. I'm not sure if it's right, but I probably would have sided it out as well. So if you side out the Time Warp, do you side out the Time Walk?
never, of course not.
Time Walk, and for me, like you were saying, Black Lotus is your pick one, pack one. I don't know, still call me a boomer or just wrong or whatever, but I'm still picking Time Walk over Black Lotus.
That's tough because Time Walk to me is the best card in Cube, but it's not as abusable. Like Lotus can become a combo deck all unto itself if you draft around it, and it's hard to draft the Time Walk deck. And I actually think if you go for the Time Walk deck, like the blue-green Planeswalker, bringing it back, things like that, then you end up with kind of a pile that doesn't come together as nicely versus like Lotus just fits into everything.
That is very fair. Very responsible and very fair of you. All right, both hands look like just absolute bangers.
Yeah, I think that Tom has this nice position though of I have a counter, I have a wrath, I have cheap removal. And I think it's on Lupi here to make sure that they apply the pressure, because the late game is not going to go favorably.
Yeah, and I will say the one thing kind of missing from McWinSauce's hand here is no red. A bit of a big deal. I mean, if you can Flame Slash down a threat, then hold up a counterspell next turn, something like that would be really awesome, but still pretty awesome. Getting a Thunder Trap Trainer down, trying to find some goods. And is that a good one?
Oof. Oof.
Oh my goodness. The advantage bar has swayed in favor of Thomas White, I would say.
I think that a balance is going to have to be cast here pretty soon. So that could mitigate some of the card advantage, but you could just balance and then Ancestral on the next turn and not lose all that much.
I mean, you kind of can't, right? Because of this Plains where you don't want to play your land and then balance.
Yeah, but you probably don't go for the land destruction.
You want to block with this trainer, right?
You do. You want to make sure you don't have a creature left on the table, so blocking.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is block the 3/3 there. But God, I'm just like looking at, like, I'm just like a giddy schoolboy looking at Snapcaster Mage next to a recall. Like, that's the only spot my eyes are focused on, and the value of this is just through the roof.
Yeah, I think McWinSauce is lining up a different kind of board state and not prioritizing like cleaning up these early creatures fast, which can be risky if your opponent has like interaction. But I guess their opponent's like texture of how they've been playing lately is just turning sideways and trying to apply more and faster. So if that's the case, there's maybe a way to turn this game around in a way that utilizes all of the value, so we can Ancestral and Normalize and not bank on casting balance. And then maybe the following turn we'll draw a red and we'll Flame Slash and Unexpected Absence instead, and kind of come back into the game that way.
It does look like Thomas is lining up one of those turns where he can just, like, not only be at an advantage spot, but, like, at a bury you type situation where he can go, like, next turn, balance, play a land, have no more lies available, and all of a sudden, Zompa has no board, and that kind of scenario, where I think it's looking good that exact same thing is going to happen. I think if I'm Thomas White, I was going to say maybe think about recalling. The only awkward part about balance here is if you just have this many cards, Tom has to just discard a ton here to this balance.
Yeah, and so you probably aren't looking to balance. I think that's the play where you're going to play these other removal spells, and you save balance as like a backup just in case.
So we just recall here and then maybe unexpectedly absent on something?
I think that's probably not going to happen because we want to make sure we know more or less. Wow, we're giving up the
Ambush
Ancestral.
Viper! Way worse than Ambush Viper plus draw 3 cards. The value, it's paining me, Eli. I'm in actual pain.
I hope you survive, obviously. This is definitely not my preferred way to go about that turn either. I think this is where the Mana Lake example I gave before, where sometimes you have Mana Lake in hand or you play around Mana Lake, and it can end up costing you in the lines that you take.
Yeah, so here's a spot where we could go to Fairy plus Flame Slash. If this resolves, deal with the token, deal with the other 4-power creature, and, Battlefield is stabilized. We do have the old Glory Bringer to be able to fight back a little bit, but either way, these exchanges have just been nothing but amazing for Tom White.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. This is an interesting turn because that Tersa can also deal with Time Raveler if you value getting it off the board, and then we could have discarded the island. Instead, going this route, I think we're trying to play a little bit more safe. And I think I would have preferred playing Glorybringer if this is how we were going to play this turn.
I actually like this because if you find a land, you could just play it and then Tersa and then Glorybringer, you get your value when a creature actually gets played. And the one thing I love that Lupi didn't do here is discard the Glorybringer this time around. Keep that one in hand.
The only issue with keeping Glorybringer for a creature is your opponent doesn't really have creatures.
Yeah, that is true. Tom White's deck is just a control deck, really tried and true. I don't draft a ton of control decks in Cube. Like, Is it something you do a lot, or is this kind of odd to see a control deck doing this well?
I think you have to find your spot. Like the seat has to dictate that you can draft the deck, and that can
Okay.
be hard to find the right spot for it. Like even in this situation, Thomas has to figure out how do I best utilize my spells. Like I'm either playing a Leyline Binding and getting poor value on things, but you could just top deck Flage instead.
Oh my god. And yeah, here's the one creature that Tom White has, and like Glorybringer's not doing anything to that, so Flade's just dealt with that creature, assuming there was one very powerful card in exile that we didn't really get to see. So shutting off that line, and man, now you can just do whatever you want. Next turn you get to bring back a Flage, and sure, Zampa can attack for 7 here, put Tom White down to 8, but shrug it off and just kind of not really care.
Yeah, short of drawing like Time Walk into something else busted, I just don't see how McWinSauce doesn't just flat win this game. And
yeah, but like
even,
Time Walk doesn't even do anything, right? You just Leyline Binding the Glorybringer and then Flage the last creature, and like it feels like we're already all done here.
yeah, I mean, I do think we're all done here. I was just trying to come up with some scenario that maybe had a chance, but no, I think we are all done here. McWinSauce just making it look easy too.
Yeah, easy mode, and you know, I did see we have communication with the players where they're chatting amongst themselves after the draft, and then the deck lists are open, and Thomas White, pick one, pack one. Well, it's that card in the graveyard right there for Thomas White. That's a pretty nice place to start.
Oh yeah, very nice. And I think that leads to a lot of like LSV's cube draft decks where he drafts decks like this is usually starting on recall and knowing you can just win by the attrition method.
But I thought he was never lucky. How is he getting recall all the time, you know?
Is that what he says or is that what other people say? Because I've seen him have recall
that's
so many times.
his aspect there. Like, never lucky. I mean, one of the best players to ever do it, that's for sure. But
sure,
just a great vintage cube drafter. I've watched so many of his videos, you know, preparing for all these cube events, and it's really fun to watch.
I agree. I definitely have him in my goat race.
Fiery Confluence, does that do anything on this battlefield?
Sadly, nothing at all. We are so dead.
But what about take 6?
I think it's funny that McWinSauce is actually like deliberating here, but all right. I think you can just do whatever you want here and the game is over.
Yeah, take 6, but then on the crackback gaining 5, that's probably pretty brutal. All right, and there is the last points. 3 damage upstairs. Here's 8 more, and that is McWinSauce, a.k.a. Thomas White, taking down the Vintage Cube portion, locking up a ton of money, and is the very first player that is on that beautiful roster here of the 2026 World Championship. Eli, that was impressive to watch, I must say.
Very impressive. Congratulations to Tom White. That was superbly executed and just the whole thing. A good draft, good deck, well played, all around all-star moment, and one of our top 3 to watch from the beginning of the stream.
Yeah, definitely. Absolutely our top 3 to watch. Zampa, maybe not necessarily on everyone's radar, but it's definitely on my radar now. He played quite well. He drafted an absolute banger of a deck just to come that close, but hey, Zampa's going to collect a lot of cash here and put himself in a good position to, make some more money with Modern. And who knows, if Tom White were to go 6-0, then we do get spots opened up as far as how many wins you have throughout the event. So I actually got a chance to talk to McWinSauce. So let's hear what he's got to say about just winning this Vintage Cube. All right, everybody, I am here with our Vintage Cube winner, Tom White, aka McWinSauce. How are you feeling, buddy? You just locked up, I guess, the first world slot of next year. Are you pumped?
Really pumped. As soon as the match ended, I went outside for a walk just to clear my head. Crazy. Feels great. I'm not a vintage cuber. I think the first time I played the MOCS a couple of years ago, they showed my stats and I'd already played a couple of games of Vintage Cube before, so it's definitely not my wheelhouse.
Did you do a lot of prep going into this, or were you the type of player that's like, well, because you've been here before, right? We've seen you at these Magic Online Championships plenty of times. Were you like, all right, I'll get through the cube, maybe pick up some dollars, and then just win Modern? Or what was your idea going into it?
I did quite a few prep. I drafted a lot and didn't play many games, because I kind of know how Vintage Cube games go, but I just need to actually know what cards are in the cube, because I don't do it unless I'm qualified. So I probably did like 30 or 40 drafts, but just didn't play very many games.
Wow, you can just internalize that knowledge. That definitely takes some skill. I know you've been around the game here for a long time as far as Magic Online streets and, making it to the Pro Tour streets. So I definitely can't do that. I got to play the games to be able to learn that knowledge. That is for sure. So walk me through the draft a little bit. How did everything go? What colors did you play? And how did you get there?
So I ended up with Jeskai control deck. First picked an Ancestral Recall, which is a pretty good card.
Chef's Kiss?
What did I say? I second picked a Balance, I think. Can't quite remember. But so I was moving into like a blue-white control, and then I just ended up with some good red cards, some Dak Fader and Flage. It's a good draft.
Hard to go wrong with that. Yeah, I mean, the deck looks sweet. Got the deck list in front of me. Looks really powerful. When you saw Recall, were you like, okay, this easily could be a World Championship slot, or were you trying to kind of calm the nerves there?
I was calming the nerves. I've had good first picks in Vintage Cube before, in MOCS. I think I first picked the Black Lotus before, and I 1-2'd it, so I knew it wasn't all set up, but I had a good start.
Wait, are you saying you play the matches out when you have a Black Lotus?
No, in the last MOCS, in one of the MOCSes.
Okay. Okay, fair enough. So kind of changing gears. You're already locked for Worlds. You already have a good amount of cash in. Ideally, going into this event, I'm sure you would just lock that in to get your 3-0 in one of them, and kind of who cares about the rest. But now that you've already done it, do you care about the Modern portion? Are you excited to get that perfect 6-0 sweep, which I've never seen personally? So how are you feeling going into Modern?
Semi-confident. I would have been more confident before the Pro Tour. I was really, really liking this Esper Blink deck with and it did really bad at Pro Tour, so I was like, I can't play that anymore.
Good.
So I tried to play most of the top decks, and I settled on Affinity. I think it's good. It's got a good nut draw. But yeah, about Modern, still have to win the matches. There's still money on the line for every single game you win, because of the way the structure works.
Yep, ain't that the truth? So you're playing Affinity. Any kind of spice with the list? Are you kind of doing maybe the Closet Gigs tech that we saw, or anything like that? Walk me through your specific list and how you're feeling based on the rest of the field.
So I started with Shuhei's list, which was the weapons, and I kind of slowed it down a little bit by adding Emery's to the main deck to make it a little bit grindier, because I have to grind a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it. The field, there's a lot of Affinity in the field. I've just seen the deck lists. There's 4 of us on Affinity, so I think everyone had the same plan I did. And it was quite a bit sad, actually. I was thinking of playing Tron, which has a good Affinity matchup, but I didn't like any of the lists I saw. And instead of trying to fix them, I just shoved them aside. And I think I could have had a really good field if I just fixed the Tron lists I saw.
Yep, that is fair. That does seem like a pretty solid matchup. Well, you got your sights set on maybe a couple mirrors to be able to get that perfect 3-0, 6-0. But huge congratulations for locking up that World slot, Tom, and best of luck in Modern.
Thank you.
God, really nice to hear that stuff from him. Eli, you've locked up World slots plenty of times. What's that feeling like when you know, you did it? You got that final carrot on the string, as I like to say. You get to play in the biggest tournament of the year.
I don't know how one describes giddy, but it's something like that.
Okay. Yeah, are you surprised, impressed, or anything with his lack of playing cube, and then just kind of like, all right, I guess it's time to practice, and then wins a cube against some of the greatest ever do it?
I think that just shows probably his skill and adeptness at like just picking it up and being very proficient at it. Certainly drafted a great deck, so I think his strategy of draft a lot of decks really panned out. And then also thought he played really well for the camera time that we saw him. So I think just all those elements just mean like he's a great player, and he could probably pick up a format pretty easily now with all his other experience in other formats.
Ain't that the truth? And I gotta say, like, I was really impressed with his ability to open that recall and put it into his pile immediately, too. I think that's a next level strat that I think more people should have implemented, don't you?
Yeah, I'm still working on that skill. I get this like carpal tunnel when I'm opening the pack, and
yeah. Wait, what kind of vintage cube draft are you doing where you're actually opening the pack? Invite me, bro. That sounds really fun. But Eli Kassis, it has been an absolute pleasure having you along for the ride, sharing your expertise here in these vintage cube drafts. We gotta maybe see if Tom White we'll give you some pointers here in cube. Maybe we'll get you in the tournament for the next time. But all jokes aside, man, it's been an absolute pleasure, and thank you so much for joining us for the MOCS. Any final thoughts here before we let you go?
I think you guys are going to really enjoy Reed Duke because he's just great at Magic all around. So I'm really looking forward to watching the. Yeah, right. I'm looking forward to watching the rest of the coverage myself. I feel like you guys are getting your upgrade. You started with the at-home volunteer, and now you're upgrading to Reed Duke. So I'm excited for what's to follow, and I want to watch the stream myself. And I think it was such an honor to be here, and I appreciate you having me, Corey, being alongside your expertise in this. It's amazing. You're still the best commentator in the whole world, so it's really fun to watch, and it's cool to be side by side with you.
I'll pay you that $20 to say that after the stream, man. I appreciate you. But yeah, I'm very lucky. We're all very lucky watching that, we have these two phenomenal Magic players, two Hall of Fame level players, to be able to bring you this coverage. But we are going to be taking a short break, and like Eli was saying, on the other side, we're going to have Reed Duke jumping on in, and we're going to start shifting gears into the modern rounds. But before we do that, let's talk again about MagicOnline's really cool events that they're doing so far. And I gotta say, I gotta try these pack wars. These pack wars look really, really interesting to me. Some call it mini masters. We, of course, call it pack wars here. Start with one pack and battle your way to victory, one booster pack at a time. Simple, fast, and full of surprises. It's going to be really fun. Keep an eye on MagicOnline to be able to know when you're going to be able to play these pack wars. That's going to be a lot of fun. So, all right, everyone, thank you so much for watching so far. We are going to take ourselves a short break, but on the other side, we got the Duke, and we'll have some Modern ready to go. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you soon.